In Exodus chapter 21, we see an insight into the slave-master relationship. So we begin reading in verse 1 of Exodus 21. Now these are the ordinances which you are to set before them. If you buy a Hebrew slave, he shall serve for 6 years, but on the 7th he shall go out as a free man without payment. If he comes alone, he shall go out alone. If he is the husband of a wife, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master gives him a wife, she bears him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall belong to her master, and he shall go out alone. But if the slave plainly says, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out as a free man, then his master shall bring him to God, then he shall bring him to the door or the doorpost, and his master shall pierce his ear with an awl, and he shall serve him permanently. You know, what I want to emphasize this morning as I look at that is this awl. You know, in the 7th year, he can go free. But if he chooses not to, then his master shall take him to God and then to the doorpost. And the doorpost, he pierces his ear with an awl. And what that does is that leaves a mark. Actually, leaves a hole. And that slave belongs to someone permanently. That got me to thinking, what is the mark of a Christian? When they looked at that slave, they would see that hole in his ear, and they would know that he belonged to somebody. Well, what does the New Testament give as an indication of who a Christian, what a Christian shows that they belong to? Well, in John chapter 13, verses 34 and 35, says, A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, even as I've loved you, that you also love one another. Now listen to verse 35. That's the key. By this, all men will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Just as the person whose ear had been punctured with that awl, everybody would know that they were a permanent slave of somebody, that they belonged to somebody permanently by that hole in their ear. This is what Jesus is saying here in John chapter 13, that all men will know that we are his disciples if we have love for one another. So let me ask you this. Is your mark obvious to all of those around you? Do they see it? Or when they see it, do they know who you belong to? I thank you for taking the time to join me today. I pray that you have a good day, and I pray that God will be glorified in all that you do today.